What I'd like to talk about today is doing a series of photographs. So I think it's important to start a series because what happened to me was I used to come here and photograph these sea arches, and I took one or two that were good and I thought, yeah, these are good. And then I thought, well, why don't I just do a whole series of the whole lot? So I did a series of all of these arches at Perranporth, and now I try and come back in different times of day to catch them with different lighting. But not only that, it's given me more of an interest to try and find sea arches elsewhere, because I think they're a fascinating subject. Sometimes if you've got a weaker image amongst, say, a series of 3, it'll be okay because it works better in a series. So they'll look good if you're printing them together in a triptych, or showing them online, or whatever you want to do with your images as a triptych. So series often work better in 3s or 5s. So have a think about what you would like to photograph in a series, because it really can help your photography, and it gives you a bit more of a challenge rather than just trying to find single images all the time. So I'm really glad today that I've got this fully articulating screen. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm pushed quite hard against this rock because my lens is limited to 20mm wide. Yeah, I'm liking it. I've taken it before, but I'm going to take it again because I think it's important to keep taking them, because I can't remember how good the last image was. You know, is it good enough? Is it better than this? I really don't know. So I'm going to take another one anyway. And because it's such a contrasty scene, so you've got a really bright sea and sky there, and really dark rock arch here. Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one to expose for. So I'm going to take 2 shots, one exposed for the bright area, which I'm going to do now. Check the focus. So that's saying minus 1.5 of the recommended exposure. So now I'm going to expose one for the inside at normal, 0, and then I'll combine those 2 images later on in Photoshop. So this is my favourite sea arch at Perranporth. Pretty damn good, isn't it? And I was just thinking, does this look as good as my last picture? I can't remember. I was looking at it and I think, I can't remember this much water being in the last picture. But I know what's different, and I know why this is not such a good shot. The last time I came was just after rain, so a lot of this was wet. The tide had gone out, it was still wet, and the rock looked a lot better because it was wet. So that's why you have to keep returning to places to get your best shot. I just thought of another good subject for doing a series of photographs, and it's one that I haven't done yet, which is rock pools. I mean, rock pools are pretty fascinating, aren't they? Ideally, you want bright sun shining down in them, and then a polarizing filter so that you can cut the reflection of the sky off. Or even better, if you've got an underwater camera, something I keep thinking maybe I'll get one day. And then you can take pictures of the actual beautiful anemones and little creatures under the rock pool. Why did you do that? What an idiot. Another series I've always enjoyed making is sand patterns. They make good pictures by themselves, I believe, but as a series they make a lot more sense, and they look particularly good on a web page, or if you've got an Instagram account and you've got all your images displayed in a nice line. They look really good as a series. So I've just found one here, and I'll show you through the viewfinder what I've got. It's pretty nice. It could do with a bit more contrast, but I'll add a bit of contrast when I get back to the office. Isn't it funny how when you put your camera bag away and you pack your tripod up and you're ready to go, you're almost guaranteed to find another picture. At least that's what I found over the years. So I was about to leave this beautiful sand pattern and I thought, shall I take it? And I'm so glad I did, because it's so much better than the one I did previously, which was done in my grey skies video. This one's got a lot more contrast and it's really pleasing. So I did a focus stack just to make sure I've got 3 images perfectly sharp, and then I'll maybe mix the 3, or maybe 1 will be enough, I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, if you want to find another photograph, it's easy. Just pack your tripod up, put your camera away and walk off. You're almost guaranteed to find one. Just saw this dead seagull and I thought it looks like it's just been run over. So I was just standing there looking at it, and a guy drove past and he went, "It didn't even move." In other words, he just ran it over without a care. I think that's pretty outrageous. I said to him, see, he said he didn't even move. I said, "You're supposed to stop." And he just looked at me as if he was just about to get out of the car and punch me or something. I couldn't believe it. I did start to do a series of tin mine pictures, and when I first moved to Cornwall, I thought I'm going to photograph them all, but there are quite a few hundred. So I soon gave up on that idea, because really I only wanted to photograph the most photogenic ones anyway. One series of images I've always liked doing ever since the 1980s is graveyard sculptures. I find them most fascinating, especially the female ones of the angels. So I just love them, and I've photographed them throughout the years in black and white, infrared black and white, and colour. And I've managed to catch a few which had just been constructed, so they were still clean rather than having black algae all over them. So yeah, it's a series that I've always enjoyed doing, and I'll still do it for as long as I can. Rock patterns make a great series. They look really good as triptychs, and they look really good if you put a lot of them together. They start to make a lot more sense in a series. It's good to do a series of pictures of trees. So once you fall in love with a tree, like I have with this one, it's good to do a complete series of pictures of it. It's hardest to do a series of 4, so I really like the idea of a series whereby you've got snow in the winter, then you've got spring with the fresh leaves, then you've got summer where there's a very large canopy with the sun shining through it perhaps, and then in autumn obviously like it is now. That would make a great series, but we get so little snow down here in Cornwall that coming back here and finding snow might be difficult. So I'm just going to light paint this twisted beech tree. So I'm coming over to the side with my torch, trying to do even lines like that. Important to do it from the side, because if you do it face on, the lighting's a little bit flat, so you want a nice shadowy side and a bright side. So going to do this for a while, try and light up all the leaves. I'm in Photoshop now. I've got both images open. So here's the one which has got the correctly exposed sky, but very dark rock. And that's the opposite, obviously. Normally I would bring them in from Lightroom in separate layers, but if you don't know how to do that, you just select all, and then you edit copy, and you paste one on top of the other. So just paste that one on top, like that. And now you can see I've got two layers. So I need to erase the sky which is overexposed and keep the rest. So this can be quite tricky. So if I zoom in a bit, I'll show you how tricky it can be. So if I get the eraser tool, so E on the keyboard, if I erase around there to get the sky back, you can see how awkward it is, because you'd have to do it so intricately, otherwise you're making the rock too dark. So although the sky is now right, you've got this kind of black edge all around the rock. So the easiest way to do that is to lasso the whole section. So I'm zooming back out, and I'm going to lasso with L on the keyboard. Let's do a bit better than that. I'm going to lasso that whole section there. And all of that bright area there. And now I'm going to choose Select Color Range, and from this drop down menu at the top I'm going to choose Highlights, and then you select how much the fuzziness you want. So that's not enough fuzziness, so you can see that it's selected some of the sky here, the blue sky. So if I get rid of that, if I go too far the other way, then it's going to select some of the rock as well, which obviously we don't want. So you want to get somewhere in between. Oops, wrong button. So I want something like that, where it's selected hardly any of the rock. Yeah, I want the rock to be as black as possible. That should do it. Press OK. And look, it's made a really good selection of the whole area. If I zoom in a bit, you can see how good it is. There's a bit there which is going to have to be done. So if I press Q on the keyboard, then B, Q gives me a quick mask, and then B just gives me the brush, so I can brush in those areas so that it won't select those. So there's a bit there. There's some around the edge there. I'm not going to do this too finely, because otherwise we'll be here all day. Yeah, and we don't want that selected either. This is the sand underneath, so we don't want that selected. But anyway, I'll just do it roughly. I'd normally take a lot more time over this bit. So now if we go out of quick mask mode, Q on the keyboard again, you can see we've made a selection. And if we press delete now, you can see we've got the much better exposed sky underneath showing through. I would normally refine that, but you get the basic idea.